And that's kind of how I feel about Kvothe's playing, that it has life outside of the plot, and I think that is like important to establish. Like I don't like stories where it feels like this character only exists to serve the plot. Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 21 of the Audiobook Club podcast. I'm your host for this episode. My name is Michael. I'm here with my three co-hosts, if you guys want to introduce yourselves.
What's up?
Hello, I'm Stephen. Hi.
Yes, hi.
Yeah, and so today we are going to be discussing The Name of the Wind, the first book in the King Killer Chronicles by Patrick Rothfuss, read by Rupert Degas. It was pronounced like Vegas, wasn't it, then, in the end?
It's Rupert Degas. Rupert Degas.
Sorry, Rupert Degas. I'm going to just keep that on because...
That's funny.
You do the editing, so...
I know, Michael, it's up to you.
So, why did I pick this book? I picked this book because this, I think, is a very interesting book to talk about. There's like... I don't know if you guys delved into it yourselves, but there's a lot of online discourse about this book, even today. When this was published, I think it was 2006 or 2007, was one of those years anyway. So a decent enough time ago, and there's still a lot of talk about this book to this day. A lot of comment sections debating this book. So I kind of wanted to see what you guys think, and I wanted to kind of get my thoughts out loud here. Just to go over a brief summary of my thoughts then without giving any spoilers away or anything. I think this book, I would like go on the side of the fence more in favour of this book. I do think it is masterfully written. I think it's beautifully written. I think Patrick Rothfuss's prose is just excellent. I think he evokes so much wonder in this fantasy book. I think it's a great, very well told fantasy book. I like what I think this fantasy book has that's so refreshing is like, I think there's a lot of intimacy, which seems like a kind of oxymoron to put against it being called an epic fantasy. How can something be intimate and epic? But I think like Patrick Rothfuss does toe the line very well in this. It's like a very closed down story, but you have the sense of the greater world beyond what these characters are going through. So I think that balance is perfectly trod, and it's not like a Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings where you get the whole world described. You just get specific segments of that. But I think there's an element of mystery and wonder that's kind of brought into it by that. So I think it's a different kind of take on the fantasy genre again. That was kind of my motivation for picking Mistborn last year, and now The Name of the Wind this year. I think it's a really interesting book. I do think it's a flawed masterpiece. I do think there's a lot of validity to the flaws that people raise about this book, and we will get into those in more depth, but overall I would be definitely favorable on this book. So I'm going to start with I'll start with you, Jonathan. Sure, if you want to give a bit of a summary on what you thought of the book without going on the spoilers.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed this book. I thought, it was well written, quite easy to listen to, so both in terms of the writing style and the narrator. Yeah, I didn't think it was perfect. I do have a few gripes, so we'll get onto more as we go through this story, particularly in the kind of romance kind of stuff and a lot of repetitiveness around stuff like that. But yeah, in terms of like the magic system and like the actual mystery behind the magic system, it's because obviously we're coming at the point of view of like somebody actually learning the system itself, so you're kind of getting the knowledge as they're getting it. I found it quite interesting, and yeah, I kind of quite like, again, I think I've mentioned this, I think it was, what do you call the Mistborn book that we read?
The Final Empire.
Yeah, the Final Empire. I think there's like, with like magic systems, there always has to be like some kind of trade-off. So I think that, again, we'll get more into discussion of the magic system, but I like, when it's like not just all powerful, it's like this trade-off and balance in that. So yeah, I thought that was probably the most interesting thing of the book. And even though, yeah, a lot of the book too focuses around the money aspect. It's all, there's a lot of mention of money in this book because of the main character, troubles with money and stuff and finances. But I actually quite like those parts, being from a maths background myself and like just thinking of everything in a quantitative way. So
it
yeah,
was
kind of
all
appealed
about
to me.
money, wasn't it? I was right now.
He does go to university, so there's a lot of student debt.
Yeah, that kind of like resonates, being young, going to university and not having a lot of money.
Yep.
And then anytime you find yourself with money, you end up just spending it straight away. Like it's quite a relatable book. But overall I quite enjoyed it.
Great. We'll go to Stephen next there. Stephen, if you want to give your summary of what you thought of the book without going into spoilers.
Sure, yeah. I was kind of up and down with this one. I thought it started off really strong, and then after about an hour, it went weird for me. And then until I got to university, it was pretty cold on the whole thing. Wasn't enjoying it the best, but then the university part was really good. Liked all of that. So it was a bit of a roller coaster for me. Let me think. I'd like the magic system. I thought it was really interesting. It was better than the Mistborn one, because like what Johnny was saying with the trade-offs and stuff. I think it handled better here, and it made more sense in my brain here, which was good. And other things that Johnny was saying, like there was definitely loads of gripes, like the love interest stuff. A lot of the music stuff I thought was kind of out of place, or like it felt like it didn't really fit somehow. It was kind of weird. I also don't really like it when the protagonist is amazing at everything just because they are, right? There's no there's no there's no build up.
We'll talk about that definitely.
There's no build up. He's just amazing because of the plot.
Yeah.
Like Kelsier, he was the same. He didn't have a reason either, and that really bugged me. There has to be some sort of strife before they're amazing at everything. Like, don't want to spoil it too much, but there is strife in this young man's life. But he's already class before it happens, so it's like, and yeah, I mean, overall, I think it was kind of middle of the road for me. There was a lot of gripes, but the parts that I did enjoy, I really enjoyed them. So yeah.
Yeah. I do disagree about Kelsier, but we already discussed that, so we'll go into that again.
Michael, you have a type,
I think.
Okay? You have a protagonist type, which is fine.
No, but Kelsier wasn't the protagonist, he was the mentor figure. He's allowed to be class. It's like Gandalf being class at things.
That's true.
Yeah, but Gandalf's an extraterrestrial being, so it's different.
I think the best character for doing it is like, if you think about Harry Potter, like Harry Potter's like actually shit at most things, which is why it makes him such a good character, because it's like the people around him that he surrounds himself with.
I'm just saying, I don't like that type of protagonist. It's not for me. It's fine if you like that, but it's not for me.
I'm just saying, Kelsier was not the protagonist.
Right.
But
you can defend Kelsier all you want, okay? But he sucks.
It's mad that after a year, Michael, you still haven't let that go, like the rating that Stephen gave that book.
Right.
He tried to punish me with this one. Didn't work.
Jason, could you give your thoughts on the book, just a summary without going on the spoilers?
I was sort of nodding along with what most of Stephen said. Actually, I would really echo a lot of what Stephen said. I enjoyed the start to this book. This is surprising because it's normally the part of the book I give off about in these reviews. But it was after that initial, I'll not say too much, but like when a certain character shows up and then there's like things change a little bit, I sort of threw me off for a while. And up until the sort of university section, or maybe just around before that, but it sort of picked up from there and really enjoyed it from that stage. And I don't have any issues with the music stuff. Actually, I quite enjoyed the music side of things. I have no issues with the love story, really. I might change my mind as we talk about it, but off the top of my head, I didn't really have any issues. The one thing I did have an issue with, and I would agree with Stephen, I do like the main character, but they're such a know-it-all.
Yeah, the same. Yeah, I do like him, but I don't like that he's amazing at everything.
And just like he just can't keep his knowledge to himself. He just feels like he wants to tell everyone how smart he is all the time.
Yeah. I agree with you on that 100%, which might sound weird because that's my pick, but I definitely do have big issues with this book as well.
Well, you can trash your own pick, it's fine.
Yeah. I mostly picked it because it's an interesting book to talk about, I think, but I do have that same issue with it. I think Kvothe is it's a term that we've used on the podcast before, but I guess we'll launch onto the actual review here, and this will be my first question. Do you guys think that Kvothe is a bit of a Mary Sue? Just to go over what that phrase means again, it's kind of like he's good at everything. He can solve all conflicts without much struggle. He doesn't really have any flaws. He doesn't really go through enough turmoil to really earn things.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, even like characters in the story tell us he was amazing from being a child, like a baby. So I mean, he absolutely is. And talking about like strife or like overcoming conflicts and stuff, there's multiple times in the story where he gets in trouble and he just talks his way out of it, which would never happen. Like, he's able to talk. He's like openly, disobedient at school and hurts a teacher and doesn't get expelled. It's mad, like.
I mean, there is turmoil. Like, he does have a lot of bad stuff happen to him, but I still don't feel like his like all knowing, all powerful persona was earned all that much, which is weird to say in a 28-hour book, but I feel like he just got the abilities as he sort of needed them sometimes.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm going to try and play devil's advocate a bit and try and defend and give representation to what like the other side would say. Like, what I think Patrick Rothfuss is trying to do here is just, he's telling a tale about like a legendary figure, and it's almost like a satire of the fantasy genre, where he's constantly like saying, oh, it didn't really happen like that, this was embellished, and things like that. I think. But
see, you say that though, right? But the character says that these things didn't really happen in this amazing way, but he's telling the story to someone else, and he tells them that it was happened in an amazing way. So, like,
Yeah, but a lot of what the argument does is that Kvothe himself is proven to be a dishonest narrator, so people will say that he is deliberately inflating his story in other ways. Like, a good example of this is where Bast interrupts him in the story, and he's like, oh, well, you think every woman is beautiful. Dana actually had a bit of a crooked nose, and Kvothe has been describing her as this breathtaking, perfect vision. It leans into that unreliable narrator kind of motif that Patrick Rothfuss had going. So I do think that as a thing in this book as well, but that's what a lot of people will argue. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, you can't just say that and forgive everything in the story.
Yeah.
That, Kvothe's an unreliable narrator for that, and I think that's what a lot of people fall back on to defend some things in this book, like Kvothe being a bit of a Mary Sue. Jonathan, what do you think? Do you think Kvothe is like too arrogant, unlikable, or do you like him as a character?
I mean, I do think he's arrogant and stuff. Like, it's kind of like, feels like, say with the whole thing with Dana, it's like kind of that whole like relationship. You feel like, yeah, she's kind of almost using him, but then he does the same thing to other people as well. So like, I feel like there's times in the book where you want to like feel that he's a nice guy and he's doing like the right thing and all, and there's other times when he's just like I think whenever he like threatens people, like trying to like basically save money, it's most of the time. Like, I think when he's trying to say get a horse off a boy, he basically says he'll come back and burn it down if he messes him about or anything. So he can be very arrogant in those like kind of situations, and yeah, I guess as well, like the whole like troublemaking kind of thing. I mean, I like that kind of like thing, that he's like this troublemaker and stuff, and that he doesn't like play by the rules. In terms of the actual like the status quo and stuff, but I think there's just in terms of like narrating his story and stuff like that. I think Stephen made a point there, like what he didn't like is like, this him being like a all powerful character. He's just good at everything. Which as soon as Stephen said that, I was like, it kind of annoys me a bit. But then I was thinking, I suppose he's telling this as a story now that he's like a man, like a mature character. So it's kind of like he's almost like earned the right to be that way. But I've kind of on the fence about it.
What I think too is like, it's going for a kind of, and it's a weird comparison to draw, but this book reminds me a lot of Forrest Gump, because it has this framing story, and the way the plot is set up, it's the character describing like these great events that they've gone through. But the reason I think it's a bit more obnoxious than Forrest Gump is because of that inflation, whereas like Forrest Gump is a very humble character, so you can kind of follow him more on all these amazing things he's done, whereas Kvothe's not as humble as Forrest Gump.
Right, so here's the thing though, right? It's if he's an unreliable narrator, that's fine. I can accept that. But then I have to ask, why does he need to be a narrator at all? Like, why can we not just hear the story without the chronicler guy and Bast being there? You know?
Because I think a big part of the story is about like the nature of storytelling, and I think that unreliable narrator is kind of a point that legend, like the way legends are built and how Kvothe kind of he creates his own legend, like by such as when he's called Kvothe the Bloodless, and he uses the herbs to slow down his blood and whatever. He's kind of building his own mythology. So that's what I think anyway, in answer to that.
Because that's fair enough. But it did annoy me though, like the whole narrator part. It really distracted me for a good chunk at the start there. Well, an hour in or whatever it was.
It really threw me off at the start. Yeah, like it's.
Right, I actually really like that. Like, it's very unconventional in a book to have a third person switch to a first person. You know, that does not.
It was really weird, like because you know at the start where they're like, there's that old guy telling the story, and like it's going around the bar and describing everybody. There's like a blacksmith character, and I thought, oh, that's going to be the main. He's the main guy for definite. They keep talking about him,
yeah,
and then he just never got mentioned again. And then it switched to the barkeep, right. And I was like, okay, that's weird.
Yeah. So let's talk about some good of the book then, because we'll go into more criticisms as we get into later. But I think most of us seem to be in agreement that it was a strong opening. I definitely am of that opinion. That so we start with it's this strange kind of description of a man who is on his own, and it talks about three silences. It's it seems like poetry nearly, but it makes more literal sense as we go into the book, because it's linked to the whole magic of sympathy is splitting things into different parts, so that it makes that description is not only like metaphorical, it becomes more literal, Michael, as we learn more about the story.
What's sympathy?
What's that, sir?
For the listeners?
Sympathy is the magic. Well, it's one of the magic systems in this world. It's probably the most used one and most described one on this.
Thank you.
Yeah. So after,
could you give a lecture on the three basic principles of sympathy, please?
I've got a candle here. What else? Some wax.
So after that part, anyway, we're introduced to the inn. And these characters gathering around telling stories about Tob Orlin the Great and the Chandrian and all these mythological sounding things. And we're introduced to the innkeeper, who is called Kvothe at that time. Very clever disguise. And his pupil, wasn't it? His apprentice, Bast.
Yeah.
We also get a POV switch here to the character chronicler who goes through like this very polite kind of theft on the road by these soldiers. He one of the characters, he like falls on this big spider creature called a scrael, that his horse kills it, brings it back to the inn. Kvothe realizes that there are probably more of them out there. He goes out to basically deal with it, and this is where he stumbles upon Chronicler. Chronicler comes back to the inn. Kvothe reveals that he's actually this legendary figure called Kvothe, and that he is willing to reveal his story to Chronicler, but only if he can tell it in his own way and take precisely 3 days to tell it. So this book, what we then go over within this book is all what is him telling it on the first day. So I think, and then we jump into the past, so I think that's a good bridge there for the beginning. I personally thought this was a great beginning. You said there was parts of it you found jarring. I didn't find it jarring at all, but maybe it's because I'm more familiar with the book.
It wasn't,
I thought,
just to clarify, it wasn't the big, this section that I had a problem with at all. It was the switch.
right. Okay.
The flashback, if you will, is what threw me off. Before that, it was fine.
We'll get on to that part then next. What did you think? What did you all think of this part? I'll start with you, Stevens.
Yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was really good. I thought it set up a mystery that never happened. Well, that never amounted to anything with the Scrael and the, all that. And there was some stuff about like Bast and who he is. There was like little nods to stuff like iron and stuff that he should be afraid of for reasons that weren't clear. So I thought, maybe he's like a vampire or something, but he's not. He's like a
he's a fae. Yeah,
he's a fae thing. Yeah. But yeah, I thought there was at the time anyway when I was listening to it, I thought it was setting up like a whole like thing with the Scraels, and there was going to be an attack or something like that. But yeah, I liked it for what it was. But looking back, it's annoying for me because it obviously feeds into the next book, I assume. When he goes on to day 2 or whatever, but the whole Scrael part and the villagers seemed sort of pointless towards the end of the book, where didn't go anywhere. But I liked it for what it was.
Yeah, this first part, it was quite interesting. I think I agree there. I think that these Scrael and stuff are going to be more heavily involved. Actually, I was thinking the story was going to be mostly centered about almost like
demon
these
hunting.
Monsters. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like monster hunting or something like that. There, but yeah, maybe they come into it more in future books. But yeah, apart from that, I thought the kind of introduction, they quote on finding out Quoth's, this got this big past and stuff like that, and that he's gonna basically tell it. And you also get that sense of he's a bit of a panicky character, because I think he's doesn't he argue with Chronicler about how the days that it's going to take to tell a story. And Chronicler's like, can you not just do it here in a couple of hours and let me head on? He's like, nope, 3 or nothing. And it's just kind of like very
specifically 3
stubborn.
days.
Yeah,
not 4, not 5, 3 days.
It's funny that he knew that number. Kind of he's like, someday I'll have to tell a story, and he's probably give a lot of thought to how long he needs to tell it the way he wants to tell it.
He's timed himself saying it though.
Yeah.
I think that ties onto his the backstory in the next part, though, that he's part of the Ade Maru and he is passionate about performing. So I think he sees it as kind of a performance too at the same time.
Yeah, true. I think there's a bit too just before you go back is there's a boy, one of the boys gets robbed or something. Doesn't that happen here? On this
that's
Chronicler, yeah. And I was game whenever that happens, and then I think it was isn't it the second last chapter or something before you actually hear about that again. So I was there's a lot of things started here that you just kind of don't really understand what just happened until the very end. But I guess that was just kind of it setting the whole story up. And I think it was decent open, but I think as the backstory or when journeys into the past and stuff is the more exciting parts.
See, I don't think I would have liked if the Scrael were the big bad. I don't think it would have fit this book, because I think it would have made the world feel very small. And I think what this book is so good at is giving a sense of scope without going into far-reaching things. I don't know. That's why that personally wasn't an issue for me. Jason, what did you think of the intro?
Yeah, really strong intro. I actually was quite enjoying the sort of multiple points of view at the beginning between the innkeeper, I believe it was, or was it Bass maybe? I can't remember who it was in this shit at the start, and also the writer who's writing the story. I'm terrible with names in this book, sorry. But I did enjoy
Chronicler writing the story.
Chronicler, yeah. But a really solid opening, set the scene. I quite like the sort of tension that was built up with the sort of
set A scene.
Well, started the book.
Yeah.
And I sort of let you know a bit about the characters.
Yeah. Right. So the story continues then. It does the flashback, and then it starts to go into first person POV instead of third person. We start to get descriptions of Quoth's past, of his his history with like the traveling folk, the Ademaru, who seem to be kind of vaguely based on like the Irish traveling community. Is what I gathered. But they go from like city to city, town to town rather, and they perform for the people there. During one of these performances, Kvothe sees like this kind of altercation with people, and one of the men like kind of uses the wind force magic, and Kvothe is intrigued by this. The guy Abenthe, who is referred to as Ben henceforth in the story, is he's kind of brought into the fold of the troupe, and he becomes a sort of mentor figure for Kvothe, teaching him kind of everything, giving him like this full kind of education, because as is described in the book at certain points, you need a strong mind to practice magic as well, so it's important to be academic as well as learning these, which kind of gives a good reason for Kvothe to have like this full education. So learns with Abenthe for a while, goes into a lot of detail about what he learns and everything, and starts to introduce you a bit to the magic of sympathy, as Kvothe like attaches sticks and coins to things, binds them. Then we go to Abenthe. He meets somebody, he goes away with them, I think he falls in love with a woman or something like that. The troupe are left without him. Kvothe kind of wanders off into the woods. During this, Kvothe's parents, or his father specifically, who was like a songwriter, has been writing this song about the Chandrian. He's been keeping it kind of close to the chest. And then Kvothe returns to camp, and he finds like everybody within the troupe has been slaughtered. Then these men who are described as kind of demonic sitting there. He hears names. He hears somebody called Cinder and somebody called Haliax. He hears them talking about how some families have been singing the wrong sort of songs, so it becomes clear that these people are probably the Chandrian, and they've probably killed them because of the song that's being created. Then we get a skip forward back into the end when Kvothe is telling the story, and he kind of says, "Oh, it's okay, it was a long time ago," and then he goes out in secret and kind of breaks down. What do you guys think of this part of the story?
In fairness, I actually did. I liked this part of the story as well. Quite like Ben, or Abenthe. I thought the dynamic between him and young Kvothe was quite good. Definitely some bits that dragged in their chapters, like when Abenthe sort of teaching him like the magic of sympathy, but I thought overall it was good, and I thought, yeah, sort of right up where he took it to sort of where his family gets slaughtered, like that really was a big moment for the character and in the story itself. Something you probably could have guessed was going to happen. You imagine there's going to be some sort of tragic backstory, but yeah, I really enjoyed this section. This was probably this is the sort of part of the intro, so the first few hours that I liked.
Yeah, I think this was a big like important part of kind of Kvothe's motivations going forward on the story. Stephen, what did you think of this part? You find this jarring going onto this part?
Just the first sort of bit where it flashes back. Well, once you realise that this is going to be it now, this is the main tale, right? That we're like the whole point of the book basically, and it's flashback and it's switched POV, or not POV, but like format from third to first person. Is that right? Or is it the other way around?
Yeah, it goes third to first eye.
Yeah. Okay. So the switch. Once I realised that that's what was happening, it was jarring, like. But then once I got used to it, it didn't really matter anymore. But still kind of annoying. But all the stuff with Abenthe, yeah, I loved all that. The trip was kind of there. I think a lot of it dragged when they were traveling around and stuff, but not like how Jason said with Abenthe. I actually really liked the Abenthe parts where he was teaching them and stuff. I thought they were the most interesting parts of this section. The sort of look and Yoda moments that were happening. Very much, reflections of that, I thought.
I still enjoyed most of those parts. I just remember there's one section where I just felt that it was just dragging on for a bit. Might just be a particularly long chapter, but I just felt like come on. Yeah.
Yeah, I really did like Abenthy as a character though. I think I wish there was more of him.
Yeah.
Maybe he comes back in book 2, I don't know. Does he?
Maybe.
Okay. Yeah, and then obviously the stuff with the Chandrian, I thought that was a good setup for them as the overall big bad. Obviously, spoilers, they don't appear again in this tale, but they are like central to the whole story, which I thought setting them up like this was quite good. Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, Jonathan, what did you think of that section of the book?
Yeah, I kind of agree with what Jason and Stephen were saying. I thought it was a bit slower this part than later parts in the book. Some of the stuff of Enfei was quite interesting because it's kind of where you got the first bit of knowledge about the magic and stuff like that, and like him teaching him and like find out that he's like this kind of child prodigy and stuff. But yeah, it kind of did get a bit repetitive. It kind of seemed like it was like, you know, do a lesson with him and then they used to home with a trip at night and his parents were like performing and then repeats, kind of like that. But no, I think it was a good kind of setup, and it also has that classic superhero intro that, you know, the parents get murdered and then the boy goes seeking revenge. Yeah, so it's kind of yeah. I was sitting there thinking, you know, I guess this guy's going to become some kind of superhero, but as it goes on in the story.
A lot of tropes in this book, but that's not a bad thing because that's why they're tropes, because they're good.
As it goes on, I think that he's it's kind of like he's it seems like he's very selfish the way it goes on. Like he's only looking for revenge. Like he only wants to learn all this stuff just so he can get his revenge. I mean, obviously it's understandable, but I feel like that's what kind of separates him from like the superhero one. It's like for example, like if you think about Spider-Man,
I think a lot of superheroes do like start like that, where they want revenge,
and
exactly. Then they learn a lesson where it's like, no, actually I need to save people.
Yeah, it's literally what I was about to say. It was kind of like the Spider-Man when Peter Parker's looking for revenge and then, you know, it ends up getting Uncle Ben killed.
Yeah, exactly.
So I feel like in this story that still hasn't really happened for him. I think he still wants that revenge, but there's a lot of questions, like in terms of, like, for example, the character Dana, you know, she has quite a mysterious background as well, and she seems to do exactly kind of as he does, and like, you know, he's very mysterious and like disappears from his friends and all a lot, and no one knows where he is, and she does the same thing, and then I feel like there's definitely more mystery there about this, and it still obviously could turn that way. But I feel like he hasn't gone the full superhero route yet. But no, it was a kind of good start day. Again, just kind of setting up more of the book.
Yeah, I basically agree with what you guys are saying. I quite liked Abenthy too. I liked the explanation of the magic. I enjoyed being with the trip. I thought I kind of like just like mundane things happening within a magical world for a while. I like to get that sense of like there's real life going on while all these magical things were happening. So it was good grounding for me before you get into more mythical things. The Chandrian, I thought they were pretty like threatening. They were a good kind of presence in the book. I thought the narrator, Rupert, isn't it? I thought he did an excellent job with their voices. Robert, sorry. Was it Robert or is it Rupert? Isn't that Rupert?
It's Rupert.
Stephen.
It's Rupert. It just messing me.
I thought he did a great job with their voices and made them seem very sinister. And actually, I thought it was very emotional the way it skips back, and then Kvothe is like he's denying kind of that it has any impact on him, and then he broke down outside. I thought that was a very realistic way to show like long-term grief. Yeah, that's my thoughts anyway.
I have a question, and I think it kind of fits into this section. Why is it called sympathy? That was kind of lost on me. I can't remember if it was explained or not, or if I didn't understand it. But why is it called sympathy?
Seems to be possibly because of the trade-off of it. Like you have to, as in I can't remember what you call the magic system in The Witcher as well, but The Witcher's similar. It's like, you know, you have to destroy something so you can create something, basically. And it's kind of like a trade-off, so I think sympathy is kind of like just a name that kind of goes with it.
because I feel like there's a big sense that Patrick Rothfuss, as much as possible, was trying to like adhere to the laws of thermodynamics in some kind of way.
Yeah.
With his magic system.
Yeah, because isn't the third law of sympathy the first law of thermodynamics is the conservation of energy?
Yeah.
Do you want to give us a rundown of how sympathy works? Or
Well, we're about to get that in the next few chapters, aren't we? Just before we go on,
I suppose.
I can't remember if it was mentioned, but maybe, you know, is there any indication of how, like, you know, when Quoth's telling the story, how long ago this is? Like, what age is he when he's telling the story, and what age? He's like 15, isn't he, when he goes,
I
when
think
he's
he
at
mentioned something about he's 50 or something.
No,
Something
he's
like
not.
that sticks out to me.
He's
50 or something
no,
like that.
he does tell his age, and it is
50.
This is a bit of an issue for me with the book too. He is 30, which
Shut up.
What?
I know.
He's basically retired.
I know. That is a big issue. I think he should be about 50, Stephen. I think your instincts on that are correct, but in the book I think he's described as being 30.
So he's
at the end.
basically retired like at the age of 30, and like he's going on as if like, oh geez, I've had this big hard life and all, like, even though he's still in his prime, like, if anything.
Yeah, I agree. He should have been aged up a bit. I know what Rothfuss was going for. That he's beaten down. His confidence is wrecked. He's a ruin of a man. But I really think he should have been aged up a bit. Telling this story, being 30 is a bit ridiculous.
Doesn't he like pull a muscle, like, you know, building the fire?
I can't remember that. I can't remember that.
To be fair, I'm 28 and I do stuff like that too. So
he hurts himself building the fire or something. I swear, I'm sure I remember something about that.
I cannot remember that part, but yeah, maybe.
And then I was like, oh, he must be, like, you know, old enough to be injured by simple things.
I know. I think there's a description of his age where Bast is saying that he seems older than what he is. So at least Patrick Rothfuss slightly, you know, acknowledges the fact that he should be older than what he's being represented as. So we'll go on to the next section of the book then. So after we return back into the story, the actual story away from the Freeman story, Stephen.
He's in his mid-20s apparently in the present.
Right.
Mid-20s, not 30.
Yeah.
It's even worse.
Yeah. So we have Kvothe is now orphaned. He's on his own. He's kind of just a straggler. He's got his dad's loot, but the strings are nipping and he's not having a great time. He kind of hitches onto this, I think it's a wagon, or was it described as a cart? I can't remember, but hitches on with somebody anyway. He's taken into a city, which is described as completely massive. It's got these different districts and stuff. There's a rich area, there's a poor area, there's areas in between. Kvothe he ventures onto the wrong areas at times. He makes enemies with some of the like street gangs. He sleeps on a roof for a few years. I think, a couple of years, I think, pass at this point. So he's on this city for a while until he hears about this storyteller, Scarpy, telling stories about the Chandrian. And obviously this is still a big goal and desire to learn more for Kvothe. So he goes and listens to this story. He hears a story about this tragic figure called Lanray, who his love dies, and he goes into like dark arts kind of to try and revive her. And then he becomes Haliax, who is the Chandrian that Kvothe saw in the camp, one of them anyway. This meeting kind of ignites Kvothe's desire to go to the university, as was described by Abenfi to Kvothe. So it's always been this big ambition inside him. He knows that he's still very young, but he is going to go and chance his arm anyway. When he's journeying to the university, he becomes part of this caravan of people. This is where he meets this character Dena, who he is very obviously infatuated with, and then he kind of envisions this life of going off with them, but then he realizes no, he wants to go to the university more, so he cements that decision and goes to the university. So I think this is the part where you guys seem to have the big issue with. So I'll go with you, Jason, because you said this part, I think, as well.
Yeah, I just find this bit quite slow, quite boring, to be honest. I know this sort of chronicles like a few years in his life where he's just homeless and living rough, living quite feral. But it was the weakest part of the book for me, definitely. I don't really think I have much more to say. Honestly, I just really find this part was definitely the weak part of the book.
No, I would actually agree with that. But I'll go to, sorry to keep going to you last, Jonathan, but I know Stephen had a lot to say about this part too, so I'll go to Stephen next there.
Yeah, I mean, much the same as Jason. Like it dragged for me a lot. I remember thinking, this is a 28-hour book or whatever it was, and there's a lot of stuff here that could have been cut out.
Yeah, I think this does make up a good fifth of the book. This part. So.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of stuff in here that could have been just cut out of it entirely. It didn't really serve any purpose other than to show how rough it is, which is kind of implied because he's living on the street anyway. But I would much rather have had more time, because I remember thinking this as well. Later on, when he goes to university, it skips a lot of the year, the first year, and I was like, I would much rather they skipped the streets part and showed me the first year university part. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it just dragged. Some parts were interesting, like when he first gets to the city and those kids beat him up and break his loot and everything. The begging part was kind of weird. I thought there was something going sinister going to be going on with that guy who gives them bread and water, but he was just kind of there. The part where he goes, the whole thing about the holiday with the masks and stuff, I thought was kind of weird, and that dragged on for a long time. Let me think now. And then where he ventures into the rich part of town, and the guard beats the shit out of him. I was like, oh, it's picking up now. This is just going to kick off here, but then sure, it didn't. And then it just dragged for me.
No worries. Jonathan, what did you think of this part?
I mean, I definitely agree. Yeah, it probably could have been thumbed out. Yeah, I don't even realise it was about a fifth of the book, this whole part. But geez, that's a bit long for what it's trying to tell. But I think I did enjoy what this kind of represents and what it's kind of leading on to. And I guess this comes back to why is he good at a lot of things. Obviously he's a child prodigy and he's a genius in terms of this magic system and stuff like that. He's very easy, he learns very quickly and stuff. And this obviously is another test where he's kind of this is how he learns to survive and stuff like that by being homeless at such a young age. And it's kind of training him almost. It's kind of this is the training section of the book, and kind of him going through this hardship to make him stronger. So I actually quite liked some of the parts in this bit. Yeah, the whole him getting the crap kicked out of him, and I think there's the bit where you're what do you call the guy that's telling the story? He's telling the story about
Scarpy.
Yes, the what do you call it begins with L.
Lanray.
That's he's more or less as it's more or less saying that he's the leader of the Chandrian. He becomes bad, or is this just almost like a myth kind of thing?
Yeah, I think this probably is true, but I think you, again, because everything in this story is unreliable narrator, I don't think anything can be 100%, but I'd say it's about 90%.
It's funny. It's that story of Lanray is basically Anakin Skywalker, of him wanting this mad power to save his loved ones and all.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, there's the bits too where he goes into some of the shops. I think there's one he goes on, he uses his acting, and he's acting as if he's he is rich and stuff. He's clicking his fingers and all. He's fetch me the thing and all, and he's my father will hear about this and all. I thought it was quite funny. And then there's another shop he goes on to get shoes, and he that actually that's maybe a bit after that, but he the boy more or less knows that he is homeless. Even though he's trying to go on as if he's not, and the boy gives him the shoes, and it's kind of this nice moment, and it kind of brings him back down to earth.
Did like that part.
Yeah, so it's kind of it was a lot of guff in this section, but it's sprinkled with these wee good parts that I really enjoyed. So I didn't mind this section, but again, it's the university thing is where my most enjoyment of this book comes up. So I think it's the next kind of chapters that's really pick up for me.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, Jonathan. There was definitely good to this part. Like it wasn't a bad section by any means. I think Stephen is right too that it drags. I think there's just too much filler. I think what happens, the actual events that happen in this section are good. It's just there's too much filler between those events, I think.
Yeah, agreed.
Yep.
Okay, so on to the university. The part I think we're wanting to talk about more. So Kvothe, he goes onto the university. He has no money. He concocts this plan to kind of like eavesdrop on people doing like an application process where they have to answer questions in front of this like panel of masters and a chancellor. He goes on to do his own then, and he aces it. He gets all the questions right. I think he stumbles on a couple, but they're like kind of. I think one of them is that kind of like an unfair question and not very literal. But he more or less gets them all. It's Elodine, isn't it? He stumbles him with one of the questions. And then Kvothe, he completely brass necks it here, and he just says to them, if you get me on for free, I'll be, that would be great. But if you actually pay me to be here, I'll be unlike any student that's ever come before. And then they set his tuition at what he thinks is free talents. I think it's free, isn't it? And his stomach drops And then he realizes...
Yeah, he thinks it's 3.
Yeah. And then he realizes afterwards it was actually -3. And they are actually paying him free talents for this semester to attend the university. So then we start to get introduced to the university, and there's like there's a linked town as well to it. I can't remember the name of the town. Is it Emre or something or
something like that? Yeah,
Emre.
I think it might be exactly.
Yeah, Emre. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we learn that there's like a town there close next door to it that they're like kind of suspicious about magic folk. We meet some characters like Sam and help me out with the names here again.
Manny.
Manny.
Yeah.
Manny. He's like the older student, isn't he? Who just is never leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of fall into classic university tropes nearly, so it's kind of enjoyable if you.
What do you call the wee rich boy? He's nice. Not Ambrose. That's the other guy. It's his friend one. The begins with S.
The Scottish guy.
Oh yeah, what was it? No, Sam was it? It wasn't Sam, was it? It was
some.
Was there one that began with a K?
2 seconds. I'm gonna Google who are Kvothe's friends in university. Kvothe's friends in university. We need to get the names here. Fuck's sake, it's like character listing. Oh, Summon and Willem.
Yeah, Willem, and Summon. Yeah. Summon's he's like kind of stuck up and all, but he's actually like sound on as well. But he's got this like rich background or something as well. But yeah, I like them. But no, I thought all the characters were quite good. All the friends, and yeah, it was kind of like this wee clique they formed, and like although Kvothe was kind of very, he's like the best way to describe him is he's got a well set of balls on him, like the way he goes on. But it's kind of like with his friends. His friends are the only ones that he's kind of like down to earth with, and he's like not really. He's always like sympathetic with them and stuff, and like appreciates that they're his friends. Whereas everybody else is basically he's just trying to always one up them, kind of, or whatever, or be better than them or whatever. Yeah.
I think it's definitely a nice reprieve for him just to have friends and hang out with people and drink like. So just wanted to touch on this part too. We're also introduced to Ambrose, who is like
Malfoy,
obviously the Malfoy, exactly. Yeah, he's the stuck up rich kid who is trying to ruin wizard school. So yeah, he's Malfoy. So that's kind of we're introduced to a few more characters, obviously, and later in the university, but that's kind of everybody important at this moment in time. What do you guys think of this kind of moment when we're first going on to the university and everything?
Well, coming off the back of the on the streets part. This is where I really got tuned in again. I was like, oh, here we go, getting interested now. The whole admissions process I thought was really interesting, and the setting of the tuition was fun because it's like merit based. So if you're really good, then your tuition's gonna be low, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's an interesting system.
I think that's actually a really good system, because it obviously gives you an incentive to like learn, because you're gonna have to do it again next year. So when you get quizzed, you want to know everything. So yeah, I thought it was really interesting. Yeah, I did like the part where he brass necks it. Just this time though, it annoys me later on when he does it again. But the brass necking was interesting. All the friends.
There's times when it's funny. It gets a bit arrogant at times, but there's times when it's funny, I think.
Yeah. All the friends, they were. I think they were all fleshed out well enough, and they're all quite different as well. And man, it's my favourite. Just for no particular reason, there's just something I latched onto there. I think the interactions between the masters were pretty good too. Like how was it Hemi?
Hemi.
He's the Snape of the piece.
Yeah.
Then Kelvin's there. He's the cool one. Yeah, the stuff of Ambrose being, he's for some reason in charge of letting people into the library, or he's like on reception for some reason.
Scriv, I think he called.
Asshole. So,
yeah.
Like, he's stuck up and arrogant and stuff, and he basically starts hating Kvothe very quickly, and there's like a rivalry thing going on, and that's all built out, and I really enjoyed that too. So this is the part of the book where I really got hooked on again and started enjoying it more.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what else you said to talk about.
No, it's fine. I think you've gone into good detail there. Jonathan?
Yeah. They said, the setup balls on Kvothe, they ask them to pay him to be there is just, I thought it was just fantastic. It was just like, you just know you're that good, and like if they probably obviously don't get people, coming them like that, so they know he's something special. And I actually quite liked the fact that he actually cheated. That, like, even though he's this genius or got this mad, like, grasp of these subjects at such a young age, he's still not good enough that he could definitely come on. Like, he has to cheat because he's like, yeah, I'm good, but I'm not good enough that I could get everything right, so I'll need to, get this extra bit, because he obviously has no money and he needs to basically get in for free, or even better, get paid to be in.
I think that's another example of him like constructing his own mythology too. It's like this guy who just came in and aced everything, but it's him manipulating kind of the system.
Yeah. No, yeah, like the introduction to the Masters, I think you kind of like get a sense of some of the characters in there. It's like, like the questions, some of them like have these questions that are known to be, like there's one, like I think Kvothe says that he heard, the one that asks him this tricky question that's like kind of almost like a trick question. He kind of knew it was going to happen, but he's like, this guy's got a reputation of asking these kind of questions and stuff, which I mean you kind of get at university. I definitely had like lecturers who would be like that. Yeah, it just kind of was very uni-esque. I did like the whole system of paying by merit and stuff, and that like at the end of each term they kind of like rate you on how you're doing and how much you have to pay for the next term or whatever. I think that's such an interesting way to do it. I don't know about applying that to the real world. I think there'd be definitely a lot of unfairly fair and stuff like that as well. But
yeah, kind of as like the scholarship program in a way, like, but
yeah. But scholarships, like, I kind of like you either get it or you don't. Whereas this is kind of like you get a certain amount, or you don't get a certain amount. Yeah. But yeah, it's it was quite interesting to start. I'm definitely I don't want to go into it now, but I'm looking forward to talking about his first class with Hemi. But I'll leave that for until Jason gives us piece.
Yeah, no worries. Jason?
Yeah, I've enjoyed the emissions process. Although again, I enjoyed like the full chapter of them just asking him questions, but it was like, is this going to be the full chapter? But it was good. I like the arrogance at this stage, but I think once it becomes like a recurring feature, it does sort of wear you down a little bit. I really like Sim and Manet. I like Ambrose as the sort of antagonist, I suppose, a little bit. But yeah, he's definitely just the Malfoy of the story, isn't he?
Yeah.
A bit.
Yeah,
I was a bit
he's just a
confused at the
foil.
start.
He's just a dick.
Yeah, in my head at the start, he was like an old librarian. It took me a wee minute to realise he was also a student.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had the same thing, yeah.
So I was very confused as to why this boy was beefing so much with students, but I got there. But no, it was good way they sort of introduced the characters at the university and they sort of set us off on this sort of second half of the book, really.
Right, I'll launch into the next part then. I'll try and cover a lot here in this next wee segment. So Kvothe goes into the university. He sees the archives, which are described as these massive kind of vaults of books, endless books that aren't really arranged in any kind of order. So I wonder how anybody can ever find anything in here. But yeah, this is a big motivation for him being here because he suspects like all knowledge across the world is probably in here at some point, so he can learn more about Lanray and the Chandrian in here. There's some trickery by Ambrose here. He comes across as a big ass, and Kvothe is like challenged by one of the masters to like lead a lecture, and Kvothe accepts and uses sympathy on the master. This is a big no. It's malfeasance to use his magic in like a harmful way. So he's threatened to receive lashes for using this magic against him. Yeah, he receives the lashes. He takes some kind of herb, kind of medicine, kind of stuff to numb the pain and stop the bleeding. He doesn't really bleed after he's lashed, which kind of adds to his reputation of being called Kvothe the Bloodless. So we kind of learn that's where that particular name comes from.
Starts working with Kelvin as well.
He does, yeah. He starts, he goes on to artificing. He does well on his exams, but he does not get the very generous offer that he did for last semester. So he has to borrow money. So he goes onto Imre, and he finds somebody called Devi, who is like kind of a loan shark, but she does not threaten with like any kind of physical force or anything. Instead, she, as a former student, she can use sympathy, and one of the most powerful links is blood. So she demands a few drops of Kvothe's blood to kind of seal the deal. He's very reticent at first, but after he sees a loot and he's like, oh, I want that loot, he goes back and kind of says, yeah, I'll have that. Kvothe, he starts to play at like this kind of exclusive area where you can gain like silver, is it a band or something like that?
It's called
Pipes.
Pipes.
Yeah.
Oh, pipes, yeah. So he to get pipes for like, this makes you like a very illustrious musician. He plays this song like the Savian song. It's like this really renowned but really hard to play song. He has no partner to play it with. But he suspects that somebody in the crowd will join him if he plays it well enough. He's proved right, and then he kind of goes searching for this person, and lo and behold, it is this Dena person that he had been in the original caravan with. But she is with like another man now, which is a common thing for this. She always seems to be with somebody else. So we learn that like I think during that point too, wasn't it Ambrose tricks Kvothe into taking a candle into the archives?
Yeah.
And because he took like an open flame into this sensitive environment, he is then banned from the archives, which is obviously very devastating to him because one of his biggest motivations here is to learn about the Chandrian, and without access to the archives, that's messed up. Ambrose also tricks him with he's messing with Kvothe at the end when he's playing the song. His strings snap, and Kvothe suspects some foul play. He also thinks that Ambrose has like been paying people off to kind of avoid using him as a musician. So I think that's probably where we'll leave that part. What did you guys think of all of this? We'll go with you first, Jonathan, this time.
Yeah, so as I said, I was looking forward to talking about the whole lecture part. I just thought that whole chapter about giving the lecture it's probably my favourite chapter in the book. Definitely like the kind of the funniest, or like just made you feel good. It was funny like how that's it starts with the people coming into the guy's class late, and he's being a pure bastard to them. Like he's just being like, why are you late? And, write me an essay on the concept of like time or something like that. And then I think Kvothe approaches him near the end and he's like, this stuff's kind of quite easy. I'm already, at a higher level than this. When we'll be able to move on? And he's like, I'll talk to me tomorrow about it or whatever. And then he obviously, it seems like he's just shrugged off the thing, but obviously he's going to be like trying to get Kvothe up in front of the class now to humiliate him. So he basically says to the class that Kvothe's already an expert in it, is going to take today's class, Kvothe without knowing anything about it. And Kvothe, is not going to back down from a challenge and goes up and gives a good lecture. I think the whole point then with him using the sympathy on him, and then in the actual, I think it's the horns is where the judgment is basically made, and where it's more or less like a trial. And Kvothe argues that the teacher allowed him to use the something, give him permission to do it on him. So I thought it was quite unfair then that he was actually, punished for it. Because, he was allowed to. It's, I thought it was quite a low blow then. It made me hate him even more. The fact that he was so petty about it and actually went and told, touts out, yeah, it's added now that Hemi and Ambrose seem to be, the two. It's like you've got the Hemi as, although I think maybe making a comparison of Hemi to Snape wouldn't be a great one because, Snape ultimately wasn't as bad, but in terms of Snape's teaching, the way he teaches and stuff, and the way he just takes it out and Harry all the time, this is a good kind of comparison. But I think, that whole part there was probably my favourite part of the whole book. Just because of the, him getting one over early doors and kind of proving that he was, as this, they've paid him to be there, and he said he's as good as he says he is, and he's went and actually proved that he is good. I just thought it was so, I don't know, relieving or something, just to kind of this whole chapter just kind of made me feel, this guy is the king, But the part with I'll just move on to the part with the whole playing the lute and all. I didn't mind actually the fact that he's playing this lute. It's kind of this, his life is basically split into two. It's basically his music aspirations and his magic and knowledge aspirations. I think the music part isn't terrible, but it's definitely not as interesting for me. And I think we'll get more into the character of Dana later, but do you know what? I kind of hated her. I thought she was a complete bitch. The first, just to start here and get on, is that she basically didn't remember him. From, as I met her on the, when he's traveling to the uni, and almost had this pure connection with her and stuff like that, and then she didn't even remember who he was. I just thought that was just horrible. It's just, I was like, geez, why does he even want to be around her anymore? But I thought she was quite an annoying character. I did like the interactions between her and Kvothe, and how Kvothe was kind of infatuated with her. It's almost his weakness. But yeah, I just thought she's just not a likable character.
Yeah, I think if I go back to the Forrest Gump comparison, she's definitely the Jenny of this story.
Yeah, exactly.
Stephen, what did you think of this part?
Yeah, I think I agree with Johnny. This is probably the strongest part for me. The first sort of lecture that he goes to, I really enjoyed that. Did think Hemi was a bit of a creep when as Johnny was saying, all the people come in and he's giving them essays for being late and stuff. And then the one girl who comes in is late and he's tells her to cross her legs and all. I thought he was
what is it he says? What was it he said? And it was so
closes the gates of hell or something.
I close the gates of hell. I thought that was I was laughing out loud.
It was funny, but I thought, what a creep. At the same time, so I was definitely, against him from the start. And then, he does the lecture and everything and gets sort of the trial and stuff. I did think the outcome was not fair. I don't think it's ever good to be whipped, especially at school, right? But at the same time, it's not so much that he did it on a teacher. It's that they're trying to make it so artificer. No, is it artificers? What's the like profession you would have?
I'm not sure actually. I can't.
Arcanist, sorry, an arcanist. Yeah, they're trying to present the appearance that arcanists aren't dangerous, right? And what he did was harm somebody, so that goes against the whole thing, right? So I think that's fair enough. But yeah, anyway, I thought the whole, the bloodless part, I was like, fair enough. That's whatever. I don't really care. And then the stuff about the music thing, I liked it, right? Where he goes to the town and he buys the loot and goes to this big club and plays it and everything. I liked that, but I just didn't think it fit in this story. It seemed like a weird detraction from the magic part where he's just playing music, which is fine. But I think it went on too long again. The whole stuff about money and he goes to the loan shark and all. Something about that I found jarring as well, where there was a lot of focus on getting cash. Where again, I would rather have seen him learn how to use the magic, but I mean, it's not a big deal really. Like, I still enjoyed it. But yeah, I liked it. I liked this section. Probably my favourite part of the book, yeah.
I actually really like the parts about music in this book. Like, I think there's a lot of passion.
I like them. I like them. But I just don't think they fit in this story.
I think like I remember like I think it was like a Brandon Sanderson lecture or something I heard one time, but he talked about how like characters shouldn't fit their stories perfectly. Like you should feel like there's kind of a life and a protest outside, and that's kind of how I feel about Kvothe's playing, that it has life outside of the plot, and I think that is like important to establish. Like, I don't like stories where it feels like this character only exists to serve the plot. I like that he has things that, aren't kind of to do with what's going on. I think it makes him an interesting character.
I would agree, but I think there was too much of it, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
I think, see, the way the music scenes were done were good, because I just hate when there's a song in a story.
Yeah.
But they didn't actually like sing the songs or nothing. It was just like, Kvothe absolutely like was shredding the loot and stuff, and it was describing what was going on. As opposed to
the book that I recommend.
Yeah, I just see like Lord of the Rings books, right? I want they like them, but see all the singing, hey, and Tom Bombadil, and oh my god, hey, it's so hard to like love whenever these it's not that obviously the narrators aren't, professional singers or nothing like that, but it just like takes me out of the book, like it takes me out of the story when I hear the song. Like, it doesn't add anything. So I was so happy the way they did it in this book. So I just wanted to bring that up.
A part I forgot to kind of pepper into this too was all the stuff with like Eladine, who's like the master namer, and he's like this kind of eccentric character, and he shows Kvothe like this part of the university where there's like a lot of students who have lost their mind, and it's because they kind of have been
including himself.
Has branch of magic, and Kvothe kind of like he commands the stone to break, and then there's like a hole in the wall, and he tells Kvothe to jump out of it, like, and Kvothe sees this as some kind of test, and he jumps out of it, and then Eladine says, you've just shown that you cannot learn this magic, you're way too dangerous. And then
you're a madman.
What also ties into this too is he meets like this girl who lives in like what she describes as the underthing. This girl named Ori. I can't remember if he describes what age, if she is a girl or a woman. I can't remember what age she's described as. But she's kind of odd as well, and he gathers that she was probably one of Eladine's pupils. So I found all that very interesting too. The fact that it's this trade-off of magic, that people are like losing their minds of using this. And it's more of a fantastical kind of magic that Eladine uses. It's more of a traditional fantasy elemental kind of magic.
He was my favourite character, actually. I take it back. I liked him the best. I liked the madness.
I really liked how Rupert Degas did his voice as well. There was something about it.
Yeah.
I actually quite like the girl. The girl loved the
Ori. I like
she
Ori
went
as
on.
well. Yeah,
like the accent he does is also like a Irish one for her, which I thought was decent. But yeah, I just kind of like the way she it doesn't like they brought gifts to each other, and it was kind of like was like a stupid kind of relationship they had. It's like,
yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was like she brought him a ring, and it's like, well, what does this ring do? It's like it keeps secrets or whatever.
Yeah,
like, it's almost like she was, even though she might have been an adult, she has this childlike side,
yeah, definitely.
or like this childlike tendency. Yeah, and it's like he embraces it, and like he just plays along. Do you know what I mean? Which I thought was quite good.
Maybe he imagined her, except he didn't, because another character gets later. But
Maybe that other character was like thought Kvothe was insane, so she was just playing along with him.
Jason, what do you think of this part of the story?
You covered quite a bit, but definitely strong part of the story. That guy, just sort of cemented how much of an arse Ambrose is. I really liked the sort of the loot section and the training to get his pipes. I find it all really interesting, quite enjoyable. I really liked Elodine. I was quite disappointed when he sent Kvothe away, but I could understand it. It was quite funny. Just like, just hopped out the window, and broke all his bones. But yeah, he seemed to be grand after that. I mean, maybe it just sort of skipped ahead a wee bit, or maybe I missed something. But it just seemed to be, broke all his bones, and then he's grand 2 minutes later. It was really strong. Like, this is definitely the highlights of the book. Strong sections throughout from here on out, really, and there's more to come in the next bit.
Yeah, so Kvothe to around this part, he writes, I think it's actually before the anchors part, so I skipped ahead there, but he writes that song about Ambrose, like calling him a jackass, because it's like a pun on Ambrose's surname, Jackass. It like kind of goes viral around the university. I think Kvothe gives him a letter of apology, but it just leads, Ambrose knows it's completely insincere. It makes him hate him more.
Doesn't he add another verse to it or something? Like he adds another 2 verses to the letter.
Yeah. Kvothe spends a lot more time with Dana in the next part, chatting to her and talking about all the patrons she's with, and kind of like he despises all these men, but he knows that he can't really express his feelings to Dana because he knows that she will find him boring, basically, if he isn't mysterious and if he is very candid. He does miss a date with her. There's an incident in the fishery with one of the characters, Fela, where Kvothe, he rescues her, and then he goes and then he finds I think he goes to check on Ori and she's okay. He finds a letter left by Dana saying that she's going away from town. Kvothe then hears some rumors that there are Chandrian in a town called Trebon. This leads to a big scramble for him to get money again. He just pulls out all the stops and tries every contact he can. He eventually barters for this horse and he drives it to kind of its maximum. He takes out a loan with Devi as well. A loan that sounds scarily high compared to the quantity of money that has been talked about in the book so far. Kvothe makes it out to Trebon. There's blue flames, which we haven't mentioned yet, but that's a marker that the Chandrian have been in the vicinity. One of the men in the town tells Kvothe that there's only one survivor. He goes in, and lo and behold, it's Dana. I guess you with that part too. It felt very contrived for it to be her.
Very forced, yeah.
Yeah, so Kvothe, him and Dana, they go on to investigate this. He wants to find answers. I think he finds a pot or something, doesn't he, with the Chandrian painted on it. So it again feels like the Chandrian, they're out to tie up loose ends. Again, the Chandrian have left one survivor, so there's theories. People say, is this an intentional thing, like the White Walkers in Game of Thrones, where they always leave one survivor to kind of spread the rumors, but one person is rumors. 2 people would have been more confirmation, but if you leave one person alive, it's scary stories are being told instead. So they're kind of traveling back. Then Dana hears something huge, and they see this it's a Dracus, isn't it? It's described of this huge cow kind of shaped, bigger than a cow, but cow in its blocky kind of shape, reptile. Kvothe kind of, Dana worries about it burning them because it can use fire, but Kvothe kind of says how it uses this to help digest its food or something like that, and that it rolls out the fires, and that it's actually like it's a vegetarian that eats trees, so it's no harm to them and everything. And then Denna, she accidentally eats something called Denna resin, which is like very similar to her name, but it's like this drug. That's part of the it's part of the story, and the people who take this drug are often referred to as like sweet eaters. Kvothe thinks that Denna's taken like enough to poison her. She's very high at this stage. He makes her eat charcoal to kind of balance out her stomach. He then concocts this plan to like put enough of the resin together to essentially drug the Drakus, he's basically, it's a drug addict reptile that's massive. It's just kind of squashing these trees and going crazy, and it's eventually going to run out of these trees where it's getting the resin from. So Kvothe says we need to basically take care of that. They keep rolling up the resin. I think it's in the end then it's like a whale or something. He crushes the Drakus under. Yeah, so he goes back then. He meets with a Will and Sam, and he sees that his loot is missing. And then obviously this is a big no for Kvothe. It's a big part of who he is. Ambrose has it. He taunts Kvothe with it. Ambrose throws it down and it splinters. And Kvothe, and like this fit of rage, calls the wind. Ambrose falls, breaks his arm. Kvothe and Ambrose are both put on trial and found guilty. Ambrose is fined, and Kvothe, I think he's expelled, but it's given like an what was the word again? Like an
suspended
suspension. It's like a suspended expulsion. I'm not really sure what that means because I don't think they give an actual time frame, but
it basically means it's not going to happen. I think they said that, like, because doesn't Eladine say that like this has happened before, so like
it's like rescinded. And then Eladine tells Kvothe that he's now he's promoted basically to the next rank, that he's a R'hllor because he was able to call the wind. And that's kind of, we jump back into the Freeman story. They're back at the end, and then Kvothe kind of, there's this man from the road comes in. He's out of his mind, kind of possessed. He attacks and kills one of the people within the inn. Kvothe kind of stands by the whole time. We know that he has done all these amazing things, and yet he's completely passive during this moment. This kind of incites Bast to confront Chronicler later, I think, in his own bedroom. And Bast reveals that he actually put out the rumours to say that Kvothe was in this town undercover, and that he was the one who brought Chronicler here through those rumours, and that he says now Chronicler's job is to make Kvothe kind of realise how amazing he is, big him up more, and get him out of this rut that he's fallen in, because like obviously the world has fallen into like this dark time where there's big spider creatures and stuff going about. So that's where we leave the story at that point. Covered a lot there. I'll go to you, Stephen. What do you think of this part?
Where do we start? What was the start of this section? Him leaving after he hears about the Chandrian and stuff. He leaves.
I think just him leaving town.
Yeah. So this again, I thought this was good build up. You know, him kind of rushing to get to the scene of the crime that he's heard about. You know, him bartering with the guy for the horse, I thought was quite funny. And then to find out that the guy scammed him anyway, I thought that was really good. I enjoyed that a lot. When Denna turned up again, I was like, this is really annoying. I'm really annoyed that she got inserted in here. And it's even more annoying when she doesn't really contribute. She's just there because she's there. I didn't like that. The stuff with the dragon as well, I thought that... it was interesting, but at the same time, it dragged on. Like other parts of this book, it just dragged for me.
Yeah.
And then when he gets back to the university, I thought that was really interesting. I was waiting for like a proper like wizard fight between him and Ambrose. That didn't happen, but maybe in the next one, I don't know. And then the discipline again. He gets called up for like harming somebody, but he gets away with it again and gets promoted again or whatever. Which, again, I liked it this time, to be honest. I think that was a good way to tie up the book. But yeah. Well, it was okay, this section.
Jonathan, no, I'll go to you, Jason, actually. What do you think about how the book ends and all this part?
I still really like this section as well. I really liked the bit with the dragon. Actually, I thought that was, it was a bit annoying that Dana just appeared. I feel like there's hopefully going to be an explanation as to why she keeps showing up and everything, but
this is another thing I meant to say. She seemed a wee bit suspicious, like that she's there and stuff at the scene of the crime where the enchanting are supposed to be, and he keeps running under.
I feel like there's going to be
also,
some sort of...
she changed the story about 50 times. Sorry,
yeah.
Jason. Go ahead.
I think there's going to be some sort of Chandrian link to Dana.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed this. Really enjoyed the dragon fight. It did maybe go on a little bit, but it was good. The fight between Ambrose and him, he just absolutely wrecked him. It wasn't really much of a fight at all. And I liked the ending. Like, I liked the Skinwalker who came in the framing story, and that was quite... It was quite scary, almost, in a way. Although the Bast stuff really, was like, what? This? How? I know that the next book is 47 hours long. I'm like, what the hell is going to happen with Bast in this book? The absolute psychopath.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did enjoy it.
So first, I think a bit that maybe we didn't mention was the Ambrose hiring the killers to come after Kvothe and stuff, and I think it's so I like the whole foreshadowing of it. It's kind of obviously this is told from the point of view of Kvothe in the future, so obviously he makes out of alive, but still was able to create that suspense. It was at the end of one chapter it was all in Ambrose. I'll tell you about this time that Ambrose was trying to kill me, basically, so obviously it's escalated to Ambrose hiring killers. Obviously we didn't get a complete confirmation it was Ambrose, we just go by the assumption that it was, and I think then it says there's another part that doesn't actually resolve yet. There's another foreshadow about Ambrose. Says that Kvothe basically thought that he'd forgot all about him, or he's just backed off and stuff. But I'm guessing there'll be more in the future. Then he's but I was wrong about that too, as you'll find out. So looking forward to what goes on there. The whole dragon part. I agree with Stephen that it was quite drag. It did go on for a bit. There was a lot of. I think it was mostly the stuff we know Dana and Kvothe, kind of these kind of intimate moments and stuff. There was just too many. I think I don't mind a wee bit of that kind of stuff, but yeah, it was just kind of a bit too repetitive and stuff. I did like the whole concept of this drug and the terms that he created, the sweet eaters and stuff like that. The stuff that he created around this drug, but it was quite interesting as well. The whole dragon thing itself, I was just trying to picture. I was thinking a bronchosaurus or something like that, because obviously they said a big cow kind of reptile, but then it's eating trees whole. So it was this thing must be absolutely Godzilla. It must be humongous.
Yeah, I think it was massive, but it was just that shape.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that the actual end, getting the dragon and trying to drug it and then actually crushing it and stuff like that was quite good. The actual actiony bits of that, and that the dragon's kind of going on this almost mental rampage and stuff, and doesn't go towards some town or something, and that's what Kvothe saves it, or saves the town, or he makes it out that he's this big hero and stuff like that, to the townsfolk and all. Again, just kind of manipulating people. He's kind of the simple folk people, and he's got this knowledge of all these things, and he's just kind of oh no, I'm a hero, I'm bigging himself up bigger than he actually is and stuff. But again, it just adds to the character. The going back to the university, then the whole fight with Ambrose and all. I mean, this is the book is called The Name of the Wind, and this is kind of where you get the first. I know there's a same way at the very start of the book with the teacher guy game where doesn't Kvothe Abenthe, where Kvothe basically ends up taking all the air out of his lungs or something. This is the first time that he's actually used it effectively, and obviously it was by accident. It's kind of almost somebody who doesn't it's that. This is just a common thing that happens in a lot of stories where it's someone's got this internal, they've got this internal power, but they can't control it yet, and it always comes out in a fit of rage. Yeah. So I thought, it's quite interesting, and this whole book I think is obviously a setup for the rest of the story. It's very much only the beginning, which I do like and also don't like, because it's kind of like, I felt like this book didn't have, like, you know, the whole, even though like a Harry Potter book, for example, like Harry Potter sets up, the whole series, but also you get this like kind of final boss battle at the end of every Harry Potter. So each story in itself is its own little, I feel like you don't really get that with this. It is more of a setup, like it's more of this to be continued, you know, which that's got good things and bad things about it. But yeah, the whole finishing scene then with the guy coming in, and that's, I think, where it links back this, where Chronicler's like, oh, this is one of the guys that robbed me and all, and he's obviously gone insane and stuff. So there is these like dark forces, just like, because I think he's just, this guy when he robbed him was just like this normal like soldier or something like that, or a mercenary or whatever it is, and now he's like a freaking possessed. So it's kind of like got this very mysterious, and like Jason said, like kind of almost scary thing about it. Like, or is it going to be like, this kind of like not extraterrestrial, what's the word, like, what's the word for like ghostly kind of term?
Possessed?
I don't know what kind of word I'm looking for.
It's like extraterrestrial, yeah.
It's something like that, isn't it?
I can't think of it.
Sure.
Anyway, basically ghost-like or poltergeist-like or whatever you want to insert ghost term here. Yeah, I liked how that left it at that, and was kind of like, geez, what's just happened here? And yeah, the whole Bass thing, you know, Bass has kind of been this pure calm, almost like this, you know, guy that's like it's kind of like he's like close, you know, seconds in command. It's like almost like, you know, you feel like Kvothe is the man in charge, and Bass is like just this like wee apprentice, but it just goes completely flipped the other way, and then it's like Bass has actually been trying to manipulate the whole situation this whole time. And he's an actual psychopath. I just felt that was like just a brilliant way to end it. So I really enjoyed the ending, and I'd be excited to read the next one.
I'm just going to do like 1 minute very quick. I really enjoyed the ending of the book as well. I enjoyed the fight with the Dracos, big dragon fight. What's not to love? It did go on a wee bit. I agree with Stephen, but I don't know, I enjoyed it overall. And I enjoyed the confrontation with Ambrose. I don't think it had to be like this big fight or anything. I just enjoyed the use of the magic. I thought it was climactic enough for me. And then the stuff with Bast in the end, I did find him extremely unnerving, and I also thought that was a great ending and a great way to leave the story where it was. So we're going to move on now to star ratings. So we'll go to you first, Jason, if you want to give your star rating there.
Yeah, I thought about this a lot since finishing the book last week. I've sort of hemmed and had a jump between two scores, and I always feel like sticking it in the middle of those, but it would be the first time anyone's give a quarter mark.
Oh.
But yeah, I've really jumped between a 4 and a 4.5, but when I look at the books I've given a 4.5, I still feel it's just not quite that level. So I think I would have to score it a 4 out of 5, which I feel does feel low. But I just don't think it's high enough for a 4 out of 5. It's high, but I still feel like it's for the epic that it is. I feel like it could have been higher, but I just don't have enough in it to give it a 4.5, despite, you know, having a good 20 odd hours of fun with it, you know.
So next we'll go on to Jonathan there. Jonathan, do you want to give your star rating?
So yeah, like I said at the very beginning, quite enjoyed this book. Found it very interesting at parts. My few gripes were, there was bits that were a bit draggy, probably could have been thinned out a bit. I think this book was 28 hours. I think it probably could have been about 20 hours. There's definitely about 8 hours of guff on there. However, the parts that I really enjoyed. I just like the whole university setting, which is the setting for most of this book. I like the main character, Kvothe, the whole backstory of the trip, and being this child genius, and, you know, going on, and like how then him like growing and learning all this stuff about the magic system, and then how the story's actually left, where he's, you know, kind of in a shadow of himself. Like how you see he's like this great character and all throughout his learning and stuff, and now he's like this, as we found out near the start of this discussion, he's actually still quite young, but he's already seems to have retired and he's hiding away. I just think, this book has been such a good intro book to the series. So Yeah, I think overall, again, sorry, I just want to talk about the narrator as well, as we haven't mentioned them yet. I thought the narrator was good. I actually quite liked a lot of the accents that he did, even especially. Actually, I thought his female accents were quite good. Like the what do you call the wee girl that was in the blue thing?
Ori.
Ori, yeah, I actually quite liked that, the voice he did for her. Yeah, I thought he did a really good job. Definitely added a lot of stuff too. Like, it wasn't just like another voice. It was actually like got a little bit of acting and stuff in there as well. So yeah, I don't know why Jason was saying a 4 seemed low. I think a 4 is a good score, so I'm also going to give it a 4.
Yeah, I think we need to.
I was also
revise the ratings.
confused. Yeah. I was also confused about Jason. It sounded like it was going to give it a 2.
I think we need to do out of 10 because people keep. I've noticed this a few times, not just with Jason. Like, people will rate a 4 and be like, "It's kind of low," and I'm like, "4's like one of the higher scores." No, basically, it
doesn't matter if it's out of 10. It's relative. Like a 4.5 is a 9, a 4 is a 8.
Like,
it's the same.
No, well, I feel like there's more room there to like understand your score.
You feel like
a bit
people
better,
are probably hesitant to put like the number 3, whereas
I think
they might be more likely to go to like a 7.
Yeah, because you said this to me the last time, Michael. Was it The Shining? I can't remember. It was some book that I give like 2.5. And you're like, "Well, that's really low." And I'm like, "It's literally half."
Oh no, that was Jason about Calypso.
Oh yeah, so yeah. Well, I give that a 3, but yeah, that's better than half, like average, like so.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. I know. We could maybe do that.
I don't really care at the same time. Just putting it out there.
No worries. Do you want to give your rating now anyway? And I'll give mine after.
Yeah, I think so. I like I said, this was a roller coaster for me. Not as much as it was okay. It was much better than the Final Empire. I'll say that. So you tick that box for me, Michael. Good man. But there were a lot of problems that I had with it. There was a lot of sections that dragged for me. And again, this was a book that I had to fast forward at one point. And I don't like doing that. And it definitely drags the score down for me. But there was a lot of stuff in there that I really liked. And I do sort of want to find out more about the story. Although I did read that the author is like 8 years behind releasing a book or something. So it's given a lot of...
going to chat about that after on trivia.
So George R. Martin.
So I don't know if I want to read the second book. We'll chat about it more in
trivia.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to read the second book just to be told that he's it's not coming. Yeah. The third one's not coming out. Yeah. So I don't get the end of the trilogy. But yeah, I think for a star for rating, I'd give it a 3. It's above average. It was good enough. The narrator I thought was really good. Yeah, like Johnny was saying, all his voices and stuff were really good. Yeah, I think he's definitely a good fit for the genre. Ironically, my least favorite voice that he did was Old Kvothe, or Coat, I should say. I for some reason I thought that was the weakest one, which is quite funny. But yeah, it's good. Overall, I'd say it was good.
Right, no worries. So on to my story, and then I picked this book, so obviously there's picker bias at play here. But I have said there are some big problems with the book. Kvothe is definitely a Mary Sue, in my opinion. I know that there's arguments that he's an unreliable narrator. Can we really believe that he isn't embellishing? Still, it impacts the enjoyment of the story that he doesn't feel a bit more. I think he should feel more in this story. He does feel the odd time he falls out that window. That was fun. I would have liked more stuff like that. But I still think the way this story is written, the world building, the crafting of the characters, the crafting of the mystery, the Chandrian, I think everything is so well developed in this book, and I definitely agree that it is one of the titans of the fantasy genre. I think it does so many refreshing things. Like, it tells this intimate story that I was kind of like disenfranchised with like this fantasy genre, because I was kind of like, oh well, it's always like the big action and the big bad and the big whatever, and then this story is just about kind of a guy and wee random adventure. So it was was just what I needed when I read it. It felt very refreshing, even though, as we've pointed out, it does use classic fantasy tropes here and there. There's even like small ones, like the main character has red hair. That's a big thing in fantasy books. His name begins with a K. That's another randomly big thing in fantasy books. I think another big flaw of this book too is, I think Dana, I kind of go on and off her. I'm not sure 100% whether I do or don't like her. I know she's written to be very mysterious. She's a bit flighty, and I'm just not, I can't quite pin her down. I don't think this book has the best writing of women in general. I think there are some great women characters in the book. I think Ori is a great character, but I think it's a long time before we meet any women in this book. I think it's even Kvothe's mother doesn't really play that much of a part, so I think that's something that could have been improved in this book. But I still think it is a fantastic fantasy book, so I'm also going to give it a 4.
Just to come back, we actually forgot to do the guessing thing at the start.
Yeah, just important that too in the chat.
That being said, I actually think it's more appropriate to do it now that we know this whole story. Well, that we've explained the whole story. That I don't know if you want to change it in future, but yeah, I think it does make sense to do it now anyway. So I think, Michael, if you want to come back to that first.
Aye. So I listened to them before the episode, and now we've done that much, I can't really recall them, but I can remember who I thought was the winner. Stephen, from what I remember of your guess, it was a wee bit vague. There wasn't that much detail. That was my main issue with your guess. I think my issue with
Jason's no way you could guess it from the picture though. Like, there's no way.
No.
Well, that's
my main issue
with
with
what's fun about.
My main issue with Jason's guess is I think he kind of said he thought Kvothe was like an evil character, and I think he thought the forest would play too much into the plot. I think that was another part of your guess too, Stephen.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I think my guess was mostly about the forest.
Like elemental or something.
Yeah.
You that was a point in your favour. You did mention elemental, which it's not the main magic system, but it is a magic system on this. So that was something that I thought was in your favour. But I think Jonathan saying that, you know, it's a wizard / sorcerer kind of character who's on a quest he's searching for something, and I think that kind of it's a bit vague as well, but I think that's more on the money than the other two guesses. So I just had a feeling that I think Jonathan had it more on the mark. So yeah, I'll give the point to Jonathan.
It's hard to not be vague, I guess, obviously when it's such a vague picture, like, but yeah, it's about probably who's least vague and who's obviously still closest. But yeah, I'll definitely take the one on this one.
Right. Happy days. We'll blaze on through here through trivia. So there's only one real part of trivia that I really wanted to bring up, and it's what Stephen mentioned. Patrick Rothfuss, the big elephant in the room that we have not mentioned at all in this review, is
the big
he's
dragon.
got George R.R. Martin syndrome. He has not addressed this series in a long time. It's gone on hiatus for a long time. There was controversy. He said that he was going to release a chapter he was going to read out a chapter of the new book if fans donated to the charity. Raised over 700k. Patrick Rothfuss has still not read that chapter, and I think that was more than a year ago at this stage.
It's 2 years ago. Yeah, I'm looking here.
2 years ago, was it? Thanks for checking that, Stephen. And I think his publisher or somebody that works with the publisher anyway has gone on record saying they don't think Patrick has wrote a single thing of the book, and that was a few years back, which is a bit concerning. He insists that he has written out everything of the series, that he wrote it on one go, and all this his releasing is just going back and forth. And he says that he has constantly reviewing things, so he's got the rewriting disease that some writers get, where they're just constantly rewriting and afraid to release things, which I definitely understand that. But
unreliable
and he's also
author syndrome, am I right?
Yep. And he's also talked about his mental health issues. I think he said that he's been suffering depression, which does make it very difficult to be creative. So again, I can empathize him with that, but I can understand fan outrage, especially people who donated money and have still not received the chapters. It is annoying that these fantasy writers cannot finish their series, but I do kind of empathize him. Scott Lynch, who wrote the Gentleman Bastard series, he's also struggled to finish his series because of mental health issues. So it's hard for me to feel angry personally. I really like this book, and I hope that he does find a way to, you know, battle whatever he's going through and get back to the series. But I can understand other people being angry about this.
Yeah, it definitely makes me hesitant to like pick up the second book unless you recommend it. But like, I kind of want to find out more of the story, but then at the same time, I don't want to be like drawn in to be disappointed.
One thing I'll say about the sequel is Kvothe's neckbeardiness does go up another level.
Oh yeah,
Nice.
Yeah, that's the situation with the series at the minute, and people are quite angry about it. But hopefully it does come out someday. But it could be like a Game of Thrones where we just never get it, and that's probably the reason. This
we will, Michael. We will get Winds of Winter. We will. It's coming.
No,
it's coming. It must be almost done.
No, I'm afraid not. This was released in like 2007, so I think like the first Mistborn book was released around this time, and as was like the first Gentleman Bastard series. So like it was a very big couple of years for like best-selling fantasy books. 2006, 2007. Right, on to what else we're consuming. Anybody in particular want to go first?
I'll go, I guess. So, I think I mentioned in our last episode, which was recorded before Christmas, that I was just trying to read the book physically, rather than listening to an audiobook. And for like kind of New Year's, my resolution then was more or less basically to start off this was going to be to read one book a month, so 12 over the year. So the first book I actually did start at the start of December, but I was taking it really slow because of Christmas and all that. But then I did get it finished. Was the Glucose Revolution one that I mentioned before. So I've also been in February now. I moved on to my next one, which is a guide to Chinese myths. So obviously we know a lot about probably Greek mythology, Norse mythology, even like Roman mythology. But I mean, much do you actually know about like Chinese mythology?
More than you would think.
Personally, don't know anything from it. Don't know about any other like gods or stuff like from their ancient times or anything like that. So yeah, I just thought I would pick up something like that. There's actually this. It's not like a series, but it's like published by the same publisher. Like does one on like Greek myths and Roman myths, and actually on Irish myths as well, which I'd be interested in reading because, being Irish, I don't actually know that much about Irish myths either. I know the main figures and stuff like that, but I don't know them as well as the Greek myths or the Norse myths. So I'll probably continue that sometime. But yeah, I'm going to try and finish this by the end of February and then move on to another one, which I'll probably update in the next episode of this and what that is. I haven't decided. Actually have decided, but I'll leave it as a big surprise. TV, so I've been watching a series, I think I mentioned before, *Halt and Catch Fire*. It's like a computer programming one.
Oh yeah.
So it's about
that's right.
Yeah, it's about the early kind of like development of computers. Like so, like this is a fictional story, obviously, but it's about them like competing against IBM and stuff, and Apple trying to make like the best computer, the best early computer and all. So there's a lot of like programming tropes and all, but obviously there's like it's very dramatized as well. But it's really good. So I just started the second season of it. Yeah, I'm quite enjoying that. And then. Yeah, not too much else to be honest. Like I've been doing a bit of gaming and stuff. I was playing one there, a strategy, Company of Heroes, which is I've always been looking for a good World War II kind of strategy game, and this one is quite decent. I played the first one. There was a third one there released, which is what's kind of like pointed out to me. But I'm like one of them people too. When I see a game, I have to go back and play like the start, unless it was like too long ago that like the first one is nothing like the most recent one. Like for example, Fallout. I was saying I tried to go play the first Fallout and it's so like crap because it's like completely different than what like Fallout 3 is like. But like this one is kind of the first one was in 2006, so I went back and played that. So playing stuff like that. But yeah, I've been doing a bit of programming work as well. So I'll probably bring that up in my plugs but next. So yeah, that's me.
Happy days. Stephen, what are you consuming?
Nothing much from me. Let me think. There's some TV show that we watched. Oh yeah, Mr. Bates versus the Post Office. Me and Sarah watched that in a couple of days. Class, so it was. Highly recommend it. It's a true story. Obviously, there's some bits in it that are fabricated for drama reasons, but it was a real event that happened. So definitely give that one a watch.
Oh yeah, I know about that. Yeah.
Is that the scandal with the issue with the software?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so I don't want to spoil it, but there's the post office had this computer system that was super buggy, and it was charging people and stuff, and it's really good.
Those programmers, fucking programmers, you can't trust them.
I know you can't. So I would definitely give that one a watch. And then other than that, I'm just kind of doing the same old stuff. Finished book 3 of Slow Horses there. I can't remember. I think it was in the last episode we had just finished the season 3, which kind of covers the same plot. So just rehashing the same thing over and over there. And gaming wise, still on the muck, as I like to refer to it, World of Warcraft. Big into that again. It's got its hooks into me once again. And then on the side, I'm playing Pokemon Emerald again. Just got one of the symbols in the Battlefront here, so happy about that. And yeah, that's really it. Boring. Oh no, wait, hold on. Sorry, I'm also rewatching Naruto. Just finished the first season, so I'm on Shippuden now.
Yeah, for me, I've been listening to a few audiobooks because I finished Name of the Wind a good while back. I've listened to Mythos by Stephen Fry, narrated by Stephen Fry. It's not the first time I've listened to it, but really excellent audiobook that I revisit sometimes. I listened to a Stephen King book that I hadn't heard before for the first time. I saw the movie when I was a child, and it kind of scarred me, but I went to revisit Pet Sematary, and I heard it's one of his darkest books, and I can attest to that. It is pretty fucked up, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Listen to The Cuckoo's Calling by Robert Galbraith. Anybody not familiar with that name, that is actually a pseudonym of J.K. Rowling. It's her what genre would you call that? I guess thriller, kind of crime thriller.
Crime thriller.
It's her series on that, and I really enjoyed the first book, so I'm definitely looking forward to getting deeper into that series. As for
apparently that series is getting a TV show now, or a film or something.
Right. It's pretty good. I really enjoyed it. I wouldn't mind doing that series on the podcast one day. When we run out of Harry Potter books, maybe we can do Robert Galbraith books.
I was almost going to recommend it today, but no.
Really?
Yeah.
You're not going to pick it then?
No.
I'll be happy to talk about it.
I just don't want to pick it. You can pick it.
Oh, okay. No, I thought you were saying I influenced you to not pick it.
No.
Talking about. Just one more thing I wanted to say that I was doing. I am watching a very, very renowned TV show. I was nearly going to say Severance because I always get them mixed up just because of their names. But I'm watching Succession at the minute. Greta and I are 3 seasons in, so we've basically been watching an episode almost every night. There's some nights we haven't been able to watch some because our child has been sick the odd time, but
just parent stuff.
Just parent stuff. He also might have The Shining, Greta thinks, because because
that book too.
She had strawberries and peanut butter, which I know is a very weird combination, but she had that the other night, and Jonah said Jonah wasn't aware of this, and then he said he wanted peanut butter and strawberries the same as mommy. So now Greta's convinced he has The Shining, but yeah.
So maybe Greta was just high on sugar, and she imagined that.
Maybe she just smelled like peanut butter and strawberries, and
or that. Yeah, that's probably the more plausible. Yeah.
Or he could have The Shining. I don't know.
Or The Shining. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yep.
He knows about Bushman, Michael. There's got to be something there.
Yeah, there is. There's something creepy going on with that kid.
There's something going on there. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really enjoying Succession. It's a bit slow getting onto it, but I can kind of see what the hype's about now at this stage. It's a really, really well done show. Really enjoying it, and I can't wait to get through it. But I'm sure there will be a great absence in my life once it's done. Yeah, so we'll do plugs quickly here. You guys got anything you want to plug or advertise or anything like that?
Yeah. So I kind of took a break from my whole YouTube stuff for probably, I think it was October or November was the last video, but I just started a new video series on it called Q School. So Q is the programming language I use in my day-to-day. So it's basically going to be tutorials and stuff in that language. Q School is a kind of pun because there's a thing in golf called Q School where it's basically how like amateur golfers qualify for like the PGA and stuff. And yeah, just thought I was a genius when I came up with that. But anyway, yeah, so I've started that and I've got the first video just came out there and I'm going to do one a week. I've got the next 2 ready to go, so I should definitely be committed for the first 3 weeks of it anyway. But because they're only wee short videos, they're not too difficult to make or anything, so I should hopefully get out one a week, hopefully for definitely a good few weeks. I'll probably take a break at some point and move on to something else and then come back to it, but yeah, just wanted to put that there, and then the link to the channel will be in the description as always.
Nice. Happy days.
I don't have anything, as always. I've been thinking about starting streaming some games and stuff, but then I get really like put off by the start of it where you have nobody watching and I'm just kind of sitting there.
Yeah.
Then I don't do it.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully if we build like more of a following on this podcast, there'll be like enough people to tell about it. That where you won't have that at the start. Yeah, just the usual for me. My check out The Dark Tales. That's my short horror podcast. Check out Soul Bonder. That's fantasy podcast. And check out Real Report. That's Jonathan and I's movie podcast. Links for
check
all
out
of
Michael's
those
podcast.
Links for all of those will be in the description below if you have any interest in any of those. Also check out Prime. Have you guys heard about Prime the drink?
The drink? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, I get like a bottle every night.
My favorite like subreddit at the minute is the Prime subreddit because they just talk about how much they hate Prime. I'm like,
oh really? It's mad. Like, it's so like it's got like it's like so popular because it's like this hydrating thing. It's got like I think it's only like 2 grams of sugar in a bottle, but it's like so sweet. And it's like, yeah, it's got no sugar, but this definitely isn't good for you because it's got like vitamins and all. It's like
the
good
energy version. The energy version has 200 milligrams of caffeine, which is the equivalent of 6 cans of Coke or 2 Red Bulls.
How is that allowed though? You can't even get a big can of Coke.
And do you guys? I don't know if they own the company or anything, but do you guys know who like launched it?
It's like YouTube
like,
people.
Logan
Is it
Paul.
Logan Paul and KSI?
Paul,
or something? Yeah.
Aye. So clearly, like their market is children, and they're selling this drink with 200.
Yeah, it's really
milligrams
scummy,
of
like.
caffeine. Yeah.
Well, I only buy the one I get is like a post gym one, and it's the hydrate one, which doesn't have any caffeine.
So you're a fan of the product?
I actually, it's quite nice, like, but there's something up with it, like, because it's so nice, and it's like there's no sugar in it. It's like how is this so nice? But yeah, I've tried all the flavors. It is good.
It's aspartame, isn't it? It's the sweetener in it.
Yeah, the sweetener. Yeah, so I mean, sweetener's one of them things that's, we won't know the long term effects until people have been taking it long term, and because it's relatively new, yeah, we won't know. But no, it's in terms of tastiness, it's tasty, and it does do what it says. It says hydrate, and I'd be like quite parched after the gym. Even I drink water in the gym, but like this, obviously water replaces the water, but doesn't replace your electrolytes or nothing. So it's kind of the thing I would take, because most isotonic drinks are quite high in sugar still. So yeah, it's kind of my go-to at the minute. Not that I'm advertising or nothing, but if Logan Paul or KSI
I was going to say that's
listening,
a great ad read. You just did.
Yeah, if Logan Paul or KSI are listening, they can actually see anything there. KSI did his first. He obviously made it on YouTube. And he did his first live stream there in like 10 years. I was like, geez, how's he been off YouTube live stream for 10 years?
Oh really?
He used to do like FIFA videos and like him like just going mental when he scored and all, like, which is we can kind of relate to, because that's the way we go when we score in FIFA too.
What do you mean YouTubers? Are these guys not professional boxers? Are they not The best boxers ever.
Well,
is what I heard.
Logan Paul's actually in the WWE, like, so he's probably getting a serious amount of money. Like.
Okay.
Oh man.
The one that's
Which-
known for being fake? Right.
Aye, but it's basically stuntman, like, and do you ever
Well,
see
aye,
the
but,
things
like,
they do? Like, it's
go on.
mental. Like. But yeah, they're professional athletes now, basically. But yeah, it seems like he's going back to doing YouTubing.
I'm not a huge fan of using your platform to sell merchandise, but if anybody wants to buy an official Audiobook Club t-shirt, the link will be in the description.
Well, I actually quite like the logo that we have, so I would actually.
I
love
think our logo
Audiobook
is.
Club.
I love our logo.
Yeah,
You
I
can
think,
get
I
it
think
printed
it's.
on the t-shirt, like, if you just want.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But yeah, I think we're not at the point where we own it. We could probably just get our own, like our hoodie.
That's what I'm saying. We could just get one
Yeah.
for. Yeah.
And then we'll be walking advertisements then.
And if you buy
Like-
two, you'll get a free bottle of Prime.
I think we should do our own isotonic drink. That's like not because like obviously theirs is because they're professional athletes. They're targeting a hydrate for after athletes. So ours should be out for after. So this is the average. So just put this now for after your long listening stunts of listening to audiobooks. You know when you're just got that thirst after the listen. Do you ever get that thirst, Michael, after you've listened to an audiobook for 2 hours?
All the
2
time,
hours.
sometimes during it.
5 hours for
Boom,
him.
insert the audio drink or something, a drink you consume with your ears. Bang.
I'll overlay some epic music over that and it'll sound amazing.
Oh, we could actually create one called Audio Brew, which is like our own coffee. Oh Jesus, I'm on that.
Yeah.
Right, guys, I quit.
It
I'm
heightens
starting a
your
company.
concentration while you're listening to audiobooks.
Yeah, you can.
And it
It's like
tastes great.
yeah, and it tastes great. And then we'll insert Jason doing that fast reading where they say terms and conditions and all that kind of crap. It's
Something
like
you may
I
die.
fucking audio brew may cause seizures or something like that. Anyway, enough shock and talk. Let's go to the next pick.
Oh, that's right. We haven't even done that part yet. I forgot about that. Yeah,
Good
so
point.
that's my... I
Jason's
relieve
away.
myself of my hosting duties and will pass the mantle on to Stephen. There you go, Stephen.
Oh. Yeah, so I was supposed to pick the next pick, but I forgot until 2 minutes before we started. I did have some things in mind though, so yeah. I was almost going to bust out the Red Rising for this one. I thought it was time to bust that out, but I'm not ready for that just yet. And then I also thought about doing Cuckoo's Call, like Michael was saying, but then I didn't want to do that, unrelated to him bringing that up. And I think what I've settled on is going to be Red Dwarf, Infinity Welcomes
Ooh.
Careful Drivers, by Rob Grant and Doug Naylor, narrated by Chris Barry.
I'm really struggling not to say what I think of this book, but I've read it before.
Mm-hmm.
Since Jason's not here, and is this related to the Red Dwarf TV show?
It's almost the story is basically the same, except it's much more condensed.
I haven't seen the show, but I do know what it's about, so I also know mostly what the book's about. And Jason's not here, so I think we can skip the guessing.
Yeah, we can skip the guess. That's fine.
I will say I don't know how Jason will like this because it is very hitchhikery at times.
I don't give a shit. I listened to Blood Meridian for him. Okay.
We'll get another round of us just gushing over something and then Jason hating it again. It was fun that
Hating
time.
it,
That's fine. Listen, if you don't like it, that's fine for me. I don't mind.
Sweet.
I want to read
So, grand.
Okay, so just again, that's Red Dwarf, Infinity Welcomes Careful Drivers by Rob Grant and Doug Naylor, narrated by Chris Barry. Thanks.
Happy days. Goodbye.
Laters.
Bye.
Chatties on the flippity flip.
Oh,
Oh fuck! I forgot. Good save, Jonathan. Flippity flamwazzle.
it's Michael's catchphrase that he never says.
I know that everyone else has to remind him of.